Today I will be sharing 5 new dinners that you can make in just one pot on the stove. These dinners today are extra low mess just because we're only cooking them in a pot on the stove. So easy. Plus, my first ever cookbook is available now for you guys. Let's get to my kitchen and let's start cooking. I need to start today off with this amazing sausage pasta. It is so delicious. I'm beginning by cutting my kielbasa sausage into half moons, or you could use any type of sausage that you like. Over to my large pot on the stove, I added in 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Next, I added in the sausage along with 1 diced yellow onion, 1 red bell pepper that I diced, and a tablespoon of minced garlic. I'm going to give this a really good stir, and I'm going to make the sausage kind of like a golden brown color now, so just cook it for around 7 minutes until it is that golden brown color. Then add in a 14-ounce can of petite diced tomatoes along with 3 tablespoons of tomato paste. For the seasonings, add in a teaspoon of salt, teaspoon of pepper, teaspoon of Italian seasoning, and dried basil. Then add in your 1.5 cups of fresh spinach along with 2 cups of chicken broth, and then last but not least 8 ounces of penne pasta, or use any pasta that you like. Give this a stir and put the lid on top. Let this simmer for about 12 to 15 minutes. You do want to make sure you stir this occasionally while it's simmering, just so the pasta cooks properly. Once your pasta is tender, you could serve this dinner up. I topped ours with a little bit of mozzarella cheese, but top yours with anything that you enjoy. If you don't care for sausage, you could always make this dinner with chicken. You could make it with ground beef, really anything you enjoy. This is super delicious. My husband loves this one. We are making this one-pot cheesy beef and potatoes now. I'm starting out by peeling and dicing my 4 russet potatoes, a yellow onion, and a yellow bell pepper. Over to the pan on my stove, I have about a tablespoon of olive oil in there. My oil is hot at this point. I added the potatoes and onion in there. I'm just going to cook the potatoes and onion for about 4 minutes on the stove. After that cooking time is up, I just added the bell pepper in along with a tablespoon of minced garlic, my 1 pound of ground beef, or you could use ground turkey, ground chicken, or any meat substitute that you like. And then for the seasonings, I tossed in a teaspoon of pepper, salt, Italian seasoning, and 2 teaspoons of paprika. I'm going to break the ground beef up right now, and I'm going to let it cook for about 5 minutes on my stove, so the ground beef won't be completely cooked through at this point. I added in 3/4 cup of chicken broth, and I'm going to let this cook covered for about 5 to 10 minutes, or until the ground beef is cooked through and the potatoes are tender. At that point, I added in 1 cup of Colby Jack cheese. I gave it a stir, and then I served this dinner up. Here's my plate of food. This dinner is so hearty and delicious. It has very minimal ingredients, and if you want to add ingredients to this, you certainly can, and you could also subtract ingredients to really make it your own and customize it for you and your family. Now we're making these Tuscan pork chops, and oh boy, you are in for a treat with this one. I have about 4 pork chops right here, and into this other bowl I added in 1/3 cup of all-purpose flour. Now I'm seasoning the pork chops on both sides with a dash of salt and pepper. After I was finished seasoning the pork chops on both sides, I just dipped each of the pork chops in that flour, and then I just kind of shook off the excess flour. I do want to let you know, if you don't want to do this with pork chops, you could always use chicken breast as a substitute. This would be super good with chicken breast. Anyway, after I was finished coating the pork chops in the flour, over to the pan on my stove, I added in a tablespoon of butter and a tablespoon of olive oil. Once the oil and butter were hot, I added my pork chops right in there. I'm going to sear the pork chops for about 2 to 3 minutes on a higher heat right now. You just want the pork chops to kind of form like a nice golden crust on the outside. This is going to give the pork chops a lot of added flavor. But after I was finished searing the pork chops, I just added them to a plate and set them to the side. In the same pan that I cooked the pork chops in, I added in a tablespoon of minced garlic, 1/3 cup of balsamic vinegar, 1/4 cup of chicken broth, and 2 tablespoons of honey. I brought this up to a simmer, and then I added in a 14-ounce can of petite diced tomatoes. I'm going to give this a stir, and then I just let this thicken for a couple of minutes. I added back in my pork chops chops, and now I'm going to just coat the pork chops in the sauce, and I'm going to let them simmer for about 5 to 10 minutes, or until the pork chops are cooked through and the sauce has thickened to the way that I like it to be. Once it looks like this, you could just sprinkle a little bit of Parmesan cheese on the top and mozzarella if you'd like. Let the cheese melt down, and then you could just enjoy this dinner. I served ours over a bed of egg noodles, but you could serve this over rice or cauliflower rice for a lower carb option, or you could just eat this the way it is. I also served this with a side salad. That sauce is so rich and delicious. I could basically just drink it. It seriously is that good. Now we're going to make my favorite soup, as one of my little ones calls it. So to this pot on my stove, I added in a tablespoon of olive oil. Once it was hot, I added in my tablespoon of minced garlic, along with a diced yellow onion and a half a cup of chopped carrots. I'm going to cook this together for about 5 to 7 minutes to get those veggies softer. Now I'm adding in 2 cups of cooked shredded chicken, along with 4.5 cups of chicken broth. Next, add in a half a cup of heavy cream and 6 ounces of cubed cream cheese. Give this a stir and let this simmer on your stove covered for about 5 minutes. Now that the cooking time is up, I'm just whisking in the cream cheese so it could be incorporated in with the rest of the ingredients and it could become nice and smooth, not clumpy. Now add in your 1 cup of small pasta. You could use any type of small pasta that you like or have on hand. I also added in 1 cup of fresh spinach. I'm going to whisk this well, and you're going to want to let this simmer covered for about 10 minutes. Stir it occasionally until the pasta is tender. But now that my pasta is to the tenderness that we like it to be, I'm adding in my cheeses. So 1 cup of shredded cheddar cheese and 1/3 cup of Parmesan cheese. Once the cheese melts down, you could really enjoy your soup. At least for me, sometimes when I have soup, I'm just hungry about an hour later just because it's not super filling. But this is the type of soup that is absolutely perfectly delicious, and it will leave you full for hours just because it really is more of a hearty style soup. We really enjoy this. Now we're making this Italian chicken and rice, so over to my Dutch oven on the stove, or you could use a large pot. Add in a tablespoon of butter and a tablespoon of olive oil. Once the butter is melted and the oil is hot, add in your pound of cubed chicken breast, along with 1 diced yellow onion. And today for the seasonings, I'm using a half a tablespoon of ranch seasoning, 1 teaspoon of pepper, 1 teaspoon of paprika, and a teaspoon of Italian seasoning. Give this a really good stir, and then you are going to let this cook on your stove for about 5 minutes. And this recipe is actually in my cookbook. If you didn't know this yet, I just released my first ever cookbook. It's on page 131, and my cookbook is available now for you guys. There's over 8 sections in my cookbook, ranging from breakfast, sides, to dinners, desserts. My cookbook just has it all, and I'm so excited for you guys to see it. But after that cooking time is up with my chicken, I'm just going to add in a tablespoon of minced garlic. Stir that garlic around until it is fragrant. Now add in 1 cup of uncooked jasmine rice, or you could use white rice, whatever you'd like. Then 2.5 cups of chicken broth. Stir this around and scrape those flavorful bits off the bottom of your pot. Now cover this with a lid and let this simmer on your stove for about 17 to 20 minutes. Just stir this occasionally while it's simmering so the rice doesn't burn to the bottom of your pot. But once the rice is tender, add in your 1/3 cup of Parmesan cheese and a half a cup of heavy cream. Let the cheese melt down, and then you could serve this up. I served this Italian chicken alongside of steamed peas today, and this Italian chicken will make your house smell so unbelievably good. This recipe is very easy to throw together. That rice is like so flavorful, and so is the chicken, but this recipe is in the one pot section of my book, one of my favorite sections. One pot meals are just so easy to make. And then also in the back of my book, I have included a section for like substitutions for common ingredients that I use that you might not use or you might not have on hand in the moment. So that section's really helpful too. I have so many more videos like this on my channel, so make sure you're subscribed down below the video, and don't forget to check out my cookbook today. It's linked down below this video for you. Bye for now.